The following program is made possible by generous gifts from partners of Hinn Ministries and viewers like you in this area.
Pastor Benny Hinn is urgently preaching the gospel to the lost because the world's only hope is salvation through God's only Son, Jesus Christ.
The gift of God is life eternal.
This is your day to join Benny Hinn in proclaiming Jesus as Savior and Healer.
Exciting program today. More exciting than I have ever done with this amazing man, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. Listen. I'm having more fun talking about the Hebrew language and the hidden treasures in the Hebrew. Can I just shake your hand? Oh, ouch. Calm down, man. Come on. We just met his cousin, and he told him I was a very calm person. So we're just having fun, as you can see. Rabbi, what an exciting thing to have you.
Thank you very much indeed. You know what? It's so much fun to be here because, first of all, I was blown away when I discovered that you have mastered the reading and understanding of the Hebrew language.
Well, I don't know
yourself,
if I've mastered, but
you've done pretty darn well, I'll tell you that.
I'm almost there.
I was really surprised. I really was. When you started reading, I thought it was a parlor trick, and you'd memorized it, so I tested you a little bit. You were good. So that was great. And secondly, to tell you the truth, I just love being with people who share my passion for reaching into the mind of God and trying to wrap ourselves in understanding of what God wants us to know, which is essentially how the world really works.
Can I tell you something? I got to the place reading the English Bible where I came to the end of meat.
There was nothing else for you.
There was nothing else.
You
for
knew
me.
it.
Well, I've read the Bible
a lot of times.
I'm not exaggerating. Over 100 times or more already through.
Yeah.
Because I just keep reading. And I'm talking about since I got saved, at least 100 or more. And I got to the place I thought, there's more to the Bible than just what I know, because you can look up, in the Strongs, and you can look up dictionaries what the words mean. Finally, and here's what convinced me. It is impossible to understand the Bible by looking up words.
It's true.
Because you have to see the whole picture.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'm going to relearn the Hebrew. And that's all I did. I am beyond excited. I am beyond moved. I sit and I cry reading the word in Hebrew because I'm finding depth I never knew existed. And the depth in the Hebrew language doesn't stop.
Yes.
And
how can it? Because it is a reflection of God himself. God is infinite, and so his language is going to have infinite meaning.
And people probably may want to know that God spoke Hebrew when he created man and said, let us make man.
Sure, and I mean, how it sounds like an absurd claim. I mean, we may be telling you that, but who says we're telling you the truth? Your own logic, your own reason tells you we're telling you the truth. Because one of the things you can see is how all languages grew out of Hebrew. And we could do a few shows just on that.
Exactly.
Showing, in fact, do you remember yesterday we spoke about how trash, garbage, refuse, rubbish flows directly from the Hebrew? It's unmistakable, right?
Right, exactly.
There is no other language that possesses certain qualities that Hebrew possesses. And any time something happens uniquely, you have to know that it's not an accident. There are unique things about the Hebrew language that show up in no other language. That's how we know that it is the Lord's language.
We're going to show you today, in the first verse of the Bible, the history of the world. This is, I know, a big statement, but you said it and I believe you.
Yes.
And the Hebrew, now let's just begin, because we tried yesterday and didn't make it.
We get sidetracked.
Yeah, but let's begin, and I'll just start just here reading it. It says, Bereshit, in the beginning, bara, created, Elohim, God, but really this is plural too, which is another amazing thing.
Discussion, yes.
Et, hashamayim, the heavens, va'et, and the haaretz, the earth.
Perfect.
Okay. Now, what we want to show you is the letter, the A or the Aleph, which, by the way, means, like you said, means captain or means general, chief.
Yes.
Because the Hebrew words each have a meaning. They're not
Every
just...
Hebrew letter means something. It's not like the letter A or B or C, which don't mean anything. It's just A, B, C. They are tools with which to make other words. But in Hebrew, every letter has a name, it has an important shape, and it has a numerical value. And all of those integrate into a totality of a beautiful symphony of unity.
How I wish we could do programs on just what you said.
We can. One day we will.
You need to come back.
One day
and do
we
this.
absolutely will.
Now,
Yeah.
why is the letter, the aleph here?
Sure.
It's
Okay.
second here.
Third
Third here.
letter.
And we see it again. Third, first, second.
Everyone has seen those quizzes or the intelligence tests where they show you, three objects and they say, pick out what's different here. All right, and this isn't a language. No one has to actually be able to read the language of triangles or circles. I can say straight away, okay, that's the one that's different. And then the examples get a little more and more complicated. You've got to pick out the one that doesn't fit. So in that same way, whether or not people can read Hebrew, and I'm assuming at this point because people may not yet be able to read Hebrew, it doesn't matter. Everyone should be able to recognize a very strange pattern, and that is 6 out of the 7 words that make up the first sentence contain the same letter. That letter is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's the letter Aleph, and there it is. Reading from right to left, it's the third letter of the word.
And may I just interrupt just quickly? He also told us that there's 7 words and 28 letters, which is quite significant.
There are only 2 verses in the 5 books of Moses that contain 28 letters, 7 words.
The first verse of the Bible, and right
before the Ten Commandments in the book of Exodus. That's right.
So only twice in the Bible.
Twice in the Bible that arrangement shows
up. And
up.
why is there 7 words, 28 letters?
That implies time, 7 days in a week, which is divine, right? Because why are there 24 hours in a day? Or why is a day what it is? Because the sun rises and sets on a regular cycle. Why are there 365 and a quarter days in the year? Because if you put a stick in the sand and watch the shadow, you'll see after 365 days the shadow will be back where it started. But 7 days is divine. There's no heavenly body that gives us the 7-day week.
28, why
28, the moon. 28 days to a moon cycle approximately.
Wow.
Implication of time. So the idea here then is that somehow time is being suggested by this sentence and by the sentence in Exodus. Now, here's the important thing to remember. This word Aleph is not just the first word of the Hebrew alphabet. It also has a meaning. It means 1,000. It means high ranking, from which we get the English word aloof, somebody who holds himself aloof, A-L-O-O-F.
And the word aloof, by the way, also means general or captain.
In the Israeli army.
In the Israeli army,
exactly. So that's what Aleph means. So now, strangely enough, in the very first sentence of the Bible, which implies time, there happen to be 6 letters, or these 6 letters all mean 1,000. And now, what follows in the rest of the first chapter is a story of 6 days.
Yeah, but may I also add 6 letters, each symbolizing 1,000, 6,000 years of history.
6,000. Now, why? Remember, what does the Scripture say that in the eyes of God a day is like?
1,000 years.
1,000 years. So therefore, 6 days of creation.
Yep.
6,000 years.
Exactly.
6 Alephs, 6 Alephs, 6,000. There they are.
Amazing.
Now, so significant is this idea that each day of creation corresponds to a different millennium of human history.
Say it again.
Each day of creation corresponds to a different millennium of human history.
Whoa.
Now, right now, the Hebrew calendar is 5,773. That's where we are.
Right.
So that means we are in the 6th day of creation, or the 6th millennium, right? Which started in the year 5,000, we'll go to the year 6,000. So
amazing.
Somehow in the next 230 years approximately, we expect some kind of amazing divine transition into the Sabbath, the 7th day. All right, we don't know exactly what it is, but we think, we suspect, we believe.
Where did they come up with that every day is 1,000 years?
Right, that's what King David says. We can rely on him. He's a good authority.
It's in the Bible, yeah. But every day
corresponds to
a
sure, because these are the definitive days of creation.
Whoa.
Now, think about this. If we're in the 5773, and it's corresponding right now, we're doing this show in the year 2013, that would mean then that 773 years ago was the beginning of the sixth day, or the sixth 1000, right?
Exactly.
That would be the year 1240. The year 1240 is 773 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, now, here's what's interesting. One of the most significant events that took place within this last 773 years, within this sixth millennium that we're now living in,
Exactly.
was the Industrial Revolution. This was the very first time in human history that the presence of human beings on the planet could be noticed from space. There were lights and machinery and transport, and you never saw this before.
No, of course not.
And up till now, up till the Industrial Revolution, everybody is at the mercy of nature. If you want to go somewhere, you need to go on the back of a donkey or a mule or a horse.
Up to that point, yes.
That's it. Up to that point,
Yeah.
if you are cold, you just suffer. If you're too hot, you just suffer. If you want to communicate with somebody who's far away, you cannot. You're essentially a child of nature.
When the Industrial Revolution began.
Now,
Changed everything.
everything changes. So would you agree that at that moment where humanity took charge, as it were, and said, we're no longer going to be subject to nature. If we get sick, we're not going to just lie there till we die. We're going to come up with an antibiotic. We're going to come up with operations. We're going to come up with technology. We're going to, in other words, would you agree that that means dominating nature?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's count and see which word in the sixth day of creation corresponds to that domination of nature.
I'm ready.
And we see that that's the 76th Hebrew word out of 140 words. Turns out to be what we'd say 51% of the way through the first day of creation. So you could say then that for that 1,000 years, that last millennium in which we're now living,
Right.
51% of the way through it was the Industrial Revolution. Well, 51% of 1,000 years is 510 years. And this millennium started in the year 1240. That was when the sixth day of creation, or the sixth millennium, begins.
I understand it, yeah.
And that's 773 years ago. But 510 years into it was the Industrial Revolution. Plus 510. Yippee! 1750, the steam engine, the spinning wheel, fabrics, weaving, everything lets loose. This wellspring of creativity is unleashed in the world exactly when God said it has to happen. In that sixth millennium, exactly
And you
at the
found
right
it
moment.
right in Genesis chapter 1.
And it's right there, and because of this principle. We're looking at that Aleph right there.
Now, you see, this
Each
is
one of
what we miss when you read the English Bible. You're missing the depth of, there's like hidden revelations, hidden plans of God, if you want to say it like
But here's the
this.
best part of it, and you were doing it already. I saw that when we were studying together earlier in the Hebrew of Genesis chapter
Right,
2.
yeah.
We covered it a couple of days ago. You straight away saw things that you'd never see in the English. And so it is, as you read this, as you just get used to the Hebrew and your eye begins to familiarize itself with this idea that there are important things, insights, magic embedded everywhere, you start noticing the patterns and you say, whoa, wait a sec. Third letter, wow, first letter, second letter, second
Okay, now
letter.
make it simple for the average Christian. Why third and third? Why first and first? Why second?
Well, first of all, I have far too much respect for the average Christian to make it simple for them.
But I mean, make it to where we can all understand.
No, sure,
Okay.
absolutely. 3 is further away than 2. If I'm standing at the beginning of something, if I'm standing at the source and the origin of everything, position 3, if I'm in the locomotive, the third carriage is further away than the second carriage.
Correct.
The first carriage is closest to me.
Correct,
all right?
yeah.
So from God's perspective, wisdom, and that's what Aleph stands for, not surprisingly, the opening letter of the Hebrew alphabet is also a word that means wisdom. In the book of Job, it's used as a verb. I will Aleph you wisdom.
Wow.
I'll give you the gateway, the portal to knowledge, right? That's what the opening letter means. So look where it is. It's far away. It's the third carriage because God hasn't yet given the 10 Commandments to humanity. His message to mankind is not around. So wisdom is far away. It's in position 3.
That's powerful.
This brings us up to the beginning of the third millennium, which is when the Torah is given on Mount Sinai. God's message to mankind is now presented. And what has the world now got? Aleph is in the first position. This knowledge and wisdom is right there. My goodness, how much closer can it be?
1,000 years.
1,000 years. So now we've taken away the first 2,000 years, yes.
And then after that, the law shows up.
Law shows up, so would you be surprised to hear that knowledge and wisdom is right there in the first carriage?
So for the first 2,000 years, the law was not given.
It's far away, yes.
Now the year 3000 basically begins.
Correct.
With the law.
And there it is,
And that's
yes.
why the Aleph.
Right.
You know how exciting that this is?
Well, show it.
I want to go, wow, but I can't. I really am behaving myself.
No, you really
No, I mean,
are,
this
yes,
is amazing.
No, this is stupendous.
Why would the letter Aleph be number one here? And again, number one with it.
That takes us all the way through the entry to the land of Israel and the conquering of Israel, the building of Jerusalem, building of the temple. All this takes us through the golden age of the presence of God in Jerusalem. Another 2,000 years goes by. Temple is destroyed. Jewish people carted off into slavery. And now, where's wisdom and knowledge now? Well, it's in position number 2. It's not as far away as it used to be before it had come to the world, because it's in the world, but it also isn't.
So the last 2,000 years,
where we are now,
where we are now is, why is it in the second position?
Look, because look around, a large number of our brothers and sisters are atheists. They don't have access to this. They don't realize the power that resides here, and so for them, it's not present. There were no atheists over here during this middle 2000. People of all the world, of every nation, people flocked to Jerusalem. There were special places, special seats in the temple in Jerusalem for people of every belief and every faith to come, because that's where the action was. Today, the action is no longer in the churches and the synagogues. But it's not vanished. It's in position 2.
I know this is maybe too much, because you think about the Hebrew language, the depth of the Hebrew language. How can I even get there? How can I understand it? But listen, we all have to begin somewhere. I don't think it is right to live your life drinking skim milk for the rest of your life.
I like that.
Because
I don't like skim milk. I like what you just said.
No, because we don't grow then.
Why should we? Yes.
Yeah. So getting into the depth gives you a whole different side of God.
Well, it really does. And can I spend a moment talking about our friendship?
Please do, but I want to also read something.
Go ahead, read it.
No, you go first, sir, please. No,
there's something special. Every time we see one another, we throw our arms around each other, we give each other a big hug.
That's correct.
Right? But that's an advanced stage of friendship. But basic friendship, people put out their hands like this.
Right.
And they shake hands.
Correct.
And I thought, again, to help people understand that the Lord's language really is the Lord's language, that Hebrew is Hebrew. It's not Japanese or Spanish or Romanian. It's a special language. I want to explain why that comes about. In Hebrew, the word for a friend looks like this.
Chaver.
That's one word. In Hebrew, we have several words, and we're going to focus on this word now. Yedid.
I never heard of that word myself. Okay.
Yedid. That's a Y-D. Y-D.
And how different is it from chaver?
Well, I'm going to explain that right now, you see.
I'm ready
First
for
of
that.
all, we have to understand what the word, if we break it up, you can't help noticing that it's a repetition of a word.
Exactly.
So if we sort of divide it up, the word we really are looking at and interested in is this word here, yad, which means hand. Oh, that's interesting.
Whoa, yeah.
Hand. Well, a couple of things we should take a look at. One thing we should take a look at is the numerical value. 10 and 4.
You've got to come back one day and give us the values numerically.
Oh, it's very important, very important.
And why it's important for us to know.
I'll show you here again, for anybody who for one moment doubts that Hebrew is the Lord's language.
You want to sit down?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what makes this thing not be a paw like a bear and turns it into a hand that allows me to be godlike in creativity. I can do things. I can pick up a sledgehammer. I can pick up an eggshell. It's miraculous. What makes the difference? The difference is digital dexterity. I can move my fingers. What makes that possible? So to get right to the source of what gives this thing the power of a hand, it is the joints. Would you not agree?
Exactly.
How many joints do we have in our hands? Well, 3 in that finger, 3 in that finger, 3 in that finger, 3 in that finger. So 3 in each of these 4 fingers. 3 times 4. Have you got a calculator on your iPhone?
No. Well, yes,
Okay.
well, I do.
12. Okay,
Yeah.
I got that. Plus the thumb, 2.
Right.
That's a total of 14. So the essence of a hand is the number 14. Would you agree?
Exactly.
So the Hebrew word yad, which means hand,
Oh, right there.
is a numerical value of 14. Now, obviously, the idea is using all your hand. In English, words that imply your full strength, like tenacious or tenacity, have the word 10, meaning all 10 fingers, both hands. In Hebrew, if you want to use your full strength, the Hebrew word is koach,
Exactly.
has the numerical value of, well, if one hand is 14, then full strength means 2 hands, obviously,
Oh, my goodness.
28.
Exactly.
Sure. Now, what happens when...
Whoa, I'm seeing something.
yeah, no. Now, you'll remember that a hand also means you put out your hand and you're doing what? Well, a lot of people say that handshaking came from when travelers would pass each other on the road. They'd be frightened of somebody stabbing them, so they would grasp one another's right hand. Well, I don't know about you, but I could stab somebody pretty effectively with my left hand. And so I'd really do pretty well, because everyone would shake my right hand. They'd be lulled into complacency. Meanwhile, I'd take them out with my left hand. It's nonsense. Stupidity.
Exactly.
The reason that we shake hands is because in Hebrew, the word for a friend is 2 hands next to each other, hand, hand, yad, yad, or yadid is pronounced differently. You put the 2 hands together. What's the reason for that? Is because a hand like this means give me. A hand like that, by the way, means enough. So if I'm at your house, you've already given me 7 portions of dessert, and you say, well, Rabbi, you've already eaten 7 portions of dessert. Would you like an 8th? I might subconsciously hold up my hands like this. No, thank you very much. It's enough.
Right.
Because everyone recognizes a hand this way means enough. By the way, read that word yad backwards. You get the word die. What's the song we sing on Passover? Dayenu, enough for us.
Wow.
So hand backwards means enough. Hands forward means give me. We clasp hands with somebody else, and we're saying we're each going to give to one another. We're mutually supportive. That's what a friend is.
Why should anyone read this amazing book that you've written?
We wrote it for everybody. We wanted to make ancient Jewish wisdom accessible to everybody. There's a limit to how much we can cover during the course of a show like this one, and we got through a lot of material.
Exactly.
But there's so much more. You've been alluding to that it's like there's a fire hydrant there, and we're sipping water out of a straw.
We're only scratching, not even the surface over there.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just there's so much.
Yeah.
Even as you were talking, I think, oh dear God, I'm just noticing something. But I've held myself back because I don't want to keep saying new things, because I want people to understand why they need to begin at least.
And what we've tried to do is to give people access to the wonders of the Lord's language, where you can gain direction. Look, everybody is hit by uncertainty in life. Everyone's hit by circumstances that come out of the blue. It's always wonderful to be able to get a glimpse into the mind of God. What does He want us to do? How does He want to handle the situation? And so we've taken about 30 examples, 20, 30 examples of circumstances where the structure of the Lord's language reveals exactly what we're supposed to do, impacting different parts of our lives, our families, our relationships, our friendships, our financial lives, our faith lives. All of that is covered there.
It's amazing how much.
That's not all. For people who want to see it visually, not just read it, we've also prepared a DVD.
A DVD. Listen,
I think it's great you've made this available to people.
Well, because see, through this book, you will get to understand the Hebrew language without even having to know the Hebrew language, and why it's important for us as Christians to know what's behind it, the treasures behind it. John Hagee says, Rabbi Lapin presents the hidden mysteries of the Hebrew language with a vibrant, electrifying force that reveals the unknown and brings a confidence that the Bible is indeed God's blueprint to life's greatest adventure. And I love what Glenn Beck says. Rabbi Lapin is one of the smartest guys I know. His new book, Buried Treasures, brings us all practical life strategies derived directly from Hebrew, the Lord's language. You'll be astounded and inspired by the ancient Jewish insights and real life stories. I am amazed, and I'll be honest with you. I know the language. Many of you don't. I'm reading it for the first time throughout. I'm just consuming the Hebrew Bible now. I want to get into the depth of it, and what it's doing to my life is I'm being transformed. I want God to transform you. I really do. I want the Lord to transform you. It's amazing that Rabbi Lapin is with me here about the same time I'm going through my revolution, really, because it's an adventure I'm in right now. That you should come and write this book. I had no idea that you even wrote it.
Really?
So this is
and
really...
I can see the excitement brought into your life.
I'm already in it, that's why. So this is like a divine moment, a divine appointment. So get this book, at least begin. Begin to search the scriptures and see. It's going to be awesome. For a gift of $35, you can have the book. And then the DVD for $30. You can get both for $60. Get it today. I'm going to the Holy Land this coming October. Come with me. I'm hoping the rabbi will come with us. Anyways, the end of October, 10 days. It's going to be awesome and powerful, life-changing. $33.99. Come with us. And then I'm in Dallas, Texas for a great healing service on the 25th of July at Gateway Church. Toronto is August 1 and 2nd at the Prayer Palace. And then Montreal, August 3 and 4. It's all there for you on the screen. Palais de Congrès de Montreal. And then August 8, 9, I'm at Great Grace Temple in Detroit, and a whole lot more online. This has been awesome. Please come back and let's do more of these programs, really, especially on the numerical values of the Hebrews and a whole lot more. Love you. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
This week, Pastor Benny Hinn is in Indonesia to hold great miracle services in 3 cities, followed by 1 service in Singapore. Pray that many will be saved, healed, and delivered in these meetings. Later this month, he'll hold a miracle service in Dallas, Texas at Gateway Church, Southlake on Thursday, July 25th at 7 p.m. And then he travels to Canada to hold a series of services in Toronto on August 1st and 2nd at the Prayer Palace, and in Montreal on Saturday and Sunday, August 3rd and 4th. Pastor Benny will visit Detroit on August 8th and 9th for miracle services at Greater Grace Temple. And he'll return to Europe in August and September for services in England, Wales, Spain, France, and Switzerland. For more information on these and other events, please visit the ministry website at www.bennyhinn.org. Pastor Benny also invites you to join him for a life-changing visit to the Holy Land, October 29th through November 7th. You'll walk where Jesus walked and experience the presence of the Holy Spirit as the Bible comes alive to you in a brand new way. Download a brochure today or call for more information. Visit Israel. You'll never be the same.